Good evening and welcome to the program. Tonight we look at empowering development in the Maprik District as it competes with a fast-progressing Yangoru-Saussia running right alongside it. And later in the program, the cost of giving hope, a touching story from the Cheshire Disability Centre. But first we take you to Matupit Island in the East New Britain province. Matupit Island has been rendered a red zone or a dangerous place to live in. The island is located within a caldera surrounded by 2 active volcanoes. Despite numerous attempts to relocate the people to much safer areas in other parts of the province, most of them have refused to leave. The International Organization for Migration, or IOM, is one humanitarian organization that has made it their responsibility to teach the Matupit people how to be resilient in the event of a volcanic disaster. Edwin Fidelis reports from Kokopo.
Matupit Island sits under the foot of the Vurvur and Vulcan volcanoes. Census estimates put the total population of Matupit at around 4,000. Despite the ever-present risk of volcanic eruption, the people still remain. Numerous attempts by the provincial government and traditional landowners to have them relocated were unsuccessful because they keep coming back. Only a few families have been relocated to the Warangoi and Sikut resettlement areas in Kokopo, but many of them still remained on the island. The Ward 3 councillor of Matupit Island, Johnson Peniel, tells me it's the same story all over the island about the people who chose not to leave.
Authority come, looking at plan, government sort of allocating ground on top of Sikut. But in fact, this is like ground, suitable belong or man on Stablongen. Because me for one as a surveyor for the government, me play makim all ground where any suitable for agricultural purposes. There's a lot all up there because a mountain gully in a canal and then play aboriginal misala. That's a lot, me play not been including me go because I mean don't have belong. I'm not suitable belong all man on Stablongen. Because anything can happen when people are in rain or canal same guri or whenever landslide that come down. Nah.
About a month ago, a team from the International Organization for Migration, IOM, visited the island and conducted a 3-day workshop on disaster resilience with the knowledge that the Matupit people have made up their minds not to leave their island village and relocate to safer areas. The team, led by Simon Kafu, seeks to educate the people to look for possible ways to establish long-term solutions that will support their lives in this volcano-prone island.
The selection of site in Matupit is not based on our, we just pinpoint or pick. The selection of the communities in Matupit has been based on the provincial profile. Which in the provincial profile they identify Matupit as one of the high-risk areas where people are, vulnerable to disaster. So we come into Matupit. Our approach into Matupit is to educate them on the risk that is surrounding them. The people are vulnerable to the volcanic eruption. People are at risk of health diseases if they're getting the smell from the volcano, sulfur smell and all these things. And also what we are here for is to identify the reason why the people have been displaced, but still they come back and stay in Matupit. So in that process of us identifying those gaps, or that identifying those gaps, we are trying to help the community to set up a community-based plan.
The Vurvur and Vulcan are situated along the Pacific Ring of Fire, making them two of the active and menacing volcanoes in the Pacific. The two volcanoes aren't giving off emissions, but volcanologists say that doesn't make it any safer. On the 19th of September 1994, as the country was coming to the end of the 19th independence celebration, the Vurvur and volcano erupted and devastated Rabaul town.
So at 7 o'clock in the morning, that's on the Monday now, on the 19th September 1994, and Tupla Mountain being fired up. They went up at the same time, simultaneously, Walkand and Taburvur. You know that man one people been die or even long town because all people have been moved out. The time we fire up, Walkand, and we throw around go long town, even Mount Taburvur go long town. So the damage, the cause of the damage was done along the town area. Along here, along Matupit, we were safe because you know got palmers or ground or kind of stone you can pull down of you. But Walkan Tasol and Tramoy, there's a lot of palmers you go towards the town. Now legally legally pull down the place. This is why now and cost them all buildings from people. I mean, Southway go on tablong all kapan na all ras na burgi go down.
Today the vegetation has risen, covering the barren land on the island, and for the daring and the die-hard, they too have risen and lived their lives oblivious to the recent past. But the IOM wants to make sure that the people must be ready for an event of any volcano disaster and how they will restore their lives after the disaster.
You're watching Tok Piksa. In this next segment, we take you to Maprik District in the East Sepik Province, where a new concept of development has been introduced. Called the Economic Zone Concept, it's aimed at empowering local communities with government services. Maprik MP John Simon, along with his district administration, believes this concept will manage their DSIP funds more effectively while delivering services to all corners of the district. With investors flocking into East Sepik Province because of major agricultural projects in the Sepik Plains, Maprik District is now ready to take full advantage of this interest and develop itself into a service center.
Maprik District sits between 8 districts of East and West Sepik. It is a service center and an economic hub for small to large businesses. Business activities for both districts in East and West Sepik happen in Maprik, and the small town is fast growing into a center of economic prosperity.
Seeing a lot of activities in Maprik. As you can see, in Maprik is booming. Maprik is one of the fast growing centers in Papua New Guinea compared to other centers. Maprik is not only a district. Maprik is not an ordinary district. Maprik is a service center. Maprik is a growth center. Maprik provides services, and Maprik provides services to other districts as well.
With that, the District Development Authority, or DDA, has embarked on a new zoning concept aimed to maintain the flow of government services into Maprik.
Under the zones, you have 4 to 5 wards that come together to form one zone. And with that 4 to 5 wards, services will be delivered to those zones. And we set up the zones as the main service center or the main resource center. And we have 22 zones in Maprik District we have established under my leadership.
The concept puts in seed money of 20,000 kina and registers the 22 zones as small business entities. Thus will enable every zone to engage in economic activities such as cocoa and coffee farming to sustain and build the 20,000 kina seed money.
Those 22 zones are registered already with IPA. And these 22 zones are registered. And because they're registered, they're just like cooperative society being registered. I have a check ready with me. A check for 420,000, 440,000 kina. And that check, we're taking it to the bank. We will go to Paramount Bank and we will open all the accounts for the 22 zones. And we will put 20,000 kina each into that account. That is the establishment fee for the zones to establish themselves.
Last week, the first of the 22 zone funding was released to ward councils of the Yamul Tamawi LLG, with funding for the other 3 LLGs expected to be released this month. Local MP John Simon, who has been on the front line pushing for this concept to eventuate, told Tok Piksa the 22 zones will enable his administration to flow funding from the District Services Improvement Program, or DSIP, direct to the doorsteps of every LLG and wards in the district.
We are bringing the service closer to them. Obviously, we have the LLG centers, but I still see you have the district there, and then you have the LLG, which is the next. And then when I looked at the ward is right down there. In between, there's a big gap between the LLG and the ward. So I have decided to come up with John.
The member believes this concept will empower his people by giving them the opportunity to develop local resources like cocoa and coffee.
With the 22 zones, we're going to build. Each zone will have a piggery unit. Each zone will have a poultry. Each zone will have a cocoa nursery. Each zone will have coffee nursery. What we're trying to do now is building capacity. And today, we'll be dishing out more than 100,000 kina to women groups and to youth groups, those who are registered. We are helping our people to register their business so that we meet the requirements. We meet today's requirements. And this is what I'm doing in my district.
With CPIC now attracting investors because of major agriculture projects in the CPIC Plains, Maprik District is aiming to take full advantage. The 10 million kina airport project in Maprik, plus developments in other sectors like road, health and education, are what Mr. Simon describes as opportunities for his people to embrace. Since the member took office, there have been criticisms on how he is running the district. But MP Simon says Maprik is now in a better position in terms of tangible development.
10 million kina is a lot of money. If you budget 10 million kina properly, if you plan it properly, you spend it well, people will benefit. You will see maximum benefit out of this money. It is a lot of money. And for us in Maprik District, we still have a lot of money. We're building, we're putting up infrastructures, we're doing this, we're fixing, we still have money. So that is what we're doing in terms of assisting, building capacity, empowering. When you talk about building capacity, when you talk about empowering, you got to go down and empower them physically. You got to make sure you give them. You can't talk about empowering and not giving them money, not giving them initial capital, not starting them up. It can't happen. You got to really empower them. So in Maprik District, we are doing that. We are giving them seed money. We're empowering them. Zone means amalgamating, putting together 4 to 5 wards becomes one zone. So that's what we're doing, and we're funding it so that they build their capacity in order for them to face today's changing world.
You're watching Tok Piksa. For people with special needs who live here in the nation's capital, life may seem a bit harder than usual. We bring you now stories of how Cheshire Disability Services is bringing hope to people with special needs in communities through their programs. But giving hope isn't always cheap or affordable. Constant funding for these programs has been a chronic problem.
This is Tore. He is 2 years old from Kerama, residing at Vabukori in Taikone village, Port Moresby. From a distance, he looks like a normal 2-year-old. Even though Tore was born normal, when he was 9 months, he had an accident that has caused his left limbs to be affected. Tore is a part of community-based rehabilitation that Cheshire provides and receives basic physiotherapy by Tom Gandia, a field worker. Community-based rehabilitation program carries out comprehensive care and support services within the nation's capital district and 3 other provinces.
Again, CBR is a big name. It's called, stands for Community-Based Rehabilitation. And this is where we have all the other programs, like I mentioned, the school, home base. We have the rehabilitation. And then we have clients who are maybe identified with social issues. They also, we make referrals to proper or appropriate services.
Tom Gandia has 5 clients he visits on Tuesday. One of his clients, 45-year-old Sam Charlie, also from Kerama, was in a car accident 3 years ago. For 2 years, he had been unable to use both hands and legs. But after Cheshire CBR identified him, he has become a success story for the program.
And after that, I was laid for 2 years on the bed without doing anything. I can't move my legs, hands, everything. I couldn't go to the toilet, and everything that I did was supported my wife and my families. And after introducing Cheshire to Taikone village, and it improved me a lot, like giving me like therapy where I can notice on my bodies. I start getting to get my bodies recovering.
Tom Gandia says that when they had first identified Sam Charlie during their community outreach, he was bed-stricken and totally dependent on his wife.
But after Cheshire identify him, we normally apply therapies every week and rehabilitation where now we recover, and it's one of the success stories for Cheshire, I think.
The story of Tore and Sam are only 2 amongst the many that Cheshire helps. But Cheshire Program Officer Joyce Kopere says that there is a need for funding for this program. Not only funding, but also human resource numbers.
With the community-based rehabilitation, I will say yes, we still need more funding from, donor partners to come and assist us, because every day we are going out, we're using fuel, and there's an increase in number of people being identified, especially the disabled people. And human resources are another issue that we have, in which we struggle every now and then, because the more we train and people won't come in the city, people won't come and say they want to do a volunteer work.
While Joyce Kopera says funding comes from private donors and government, constant funding has become the issue.
Now and then we call for assistance from partners and business houses. So if we have a constant government funding, then that will be really helpful.
Other programs Cheshire Disability Services provide are inclusive education and early childhood care, respite care, protection, and home reintegration and physiotherapy services.
Residential care and protection, and this is where we have about 20 disabled residents, and there's a 24-hour care given to them at the center. And we have inclusive education, in which we have a center-based class, and also in the community, we have teachers going out and do what we call inclusive education home-based program.
But for those who do volunteer and are employed by Cheshire Disability Services, like Tom Gandia, he says his job gives his life fulfillment. So if you can, donate time, cash or kind, to the Cheshire Disability Services. It gives hope to those who need it the most.
That story takes us to the end of Tok Piksa tonight. We hope you enjoyed the program. Until we do this again next Sunday, from the entire Tok Piksa team, I'm Neville Choi, and it's good night.